We are immersed in a time of meteoric change, from the microbial to the planetary to the extraterrestrial. Biotechnologists snip and rearrange DNA, editing what we call life. Computers that we call intelligent amplify human sensoria, altering what we call the body. Cosmologists' observations of the observable universe reveal that only a fraction of what we see is what we call matter. And our collaboration with animals suggests that what we call the mind extends far beyond the human brain. So these concepts that I've just listed, life, intelligence, matter, body, mind, are ones that are undergoing these momentous revisions. At the Future Humans program at the Berggruen Institute in Los Angeles, California, we are researching and witnessing how these shifts are indeed changing what it means to be human. A lot of you in this room, I think, are designing a future that is already here. And I suggest that this is embodying what philosopher Anna Tsing calls the arts of noticing. You are visualizing, speculating, and materializing new worlds that are more sustainable, adaptable, and equitable than our present one. So something that I've been noticing at the Future Humans program are these really interesting conversations happening about AI. So with the advent of GPT-4 that was just released a few weeks ago, DALL-E and Midjourney, these collaborations with machines are curiously reifying the mind-body dualism that French philosopher René Descartes introduced to us and cemented in Enlightenment thought. And what I mean by this is that AI and thinking and cognition is beginning to be attributed to machines that are over there, whereas the human is something that is this je ne sais quoi that we have to hold on to, that there are these special characteristics. I instead see these human-machine, human-AI, human-robotics collaborations as gesturing to new forms of intelligence that will be creative and collaborative, and I think really fun. So just a few days ago, I was at MIT, and I met a fascinating researcher, Aude Oliva. She's a neuroscientist. And she suggested to me something that I had never thought about. She suggested that what if AI had a, quote, wireless 3D skin mesh that could give computers a more than human body? She said the mesh would be an artificial sensory network extending to the entire Earth. Oliva imagines a world in which, quote, AI could teach us to have different and new qualia within the perceptual and cognitive bandwidths of the brain, a phenomenon that she speculates, quote, is not impossible given the malleability of the brain network. What if machines' embodied ways of knowing were theorized and experimented with alongside their expressions of what we now call intelligence? You see here a very weird entity that straddles the received categories of the biological and the mechanical. These are programmable biological entities that are called xenobots. They are life forms that were just invented in 2020 by the researchers Michael Levin, Josh Bongard, Doug Blackenston, and Sam Kriegman. So let me walk you through the process of how the team created it. So first they decided on a behavior that they wanted the xenobots to display. So in this case, perhaps swarming and locomotion. Then in order to embody that behavior, they ran through this AI pipeline billions of years of evolution through a million different pathways. So they're creating this kind of computational plurality of biological futures. And then they iterated back and forth between what kinds of shapes the xenobots might take in a way that they and the AI thought together would best exhibit a particular behavior. And so this involved creating kind of a Lego shape, slapping it on the wall of a wet biology laboratory, and then literally molding these frog cells by hand. So xenobots are named after the Xenopus laevis, which is a kind of frog. But it also means xenobots, strange robots. And amazingly, they performed exactly, roughly, what the researchers had expected. So what I'm thinking about as a small swarm for biomachine kind represents a really actually novel way of thinking about biology. So in Darwinian evolution, there are these genetic felicitous accidents. My ears are a little bit bigger through some anomaly, and then they grow to a particular shape that behooves me in this evolutionary advantage. These, however, recall another kind of theory of evolution that was discarded when Darwinian evolution became the dominant theory, called Lamarckianism, in which traits were inherited and passed on directly to offspring, but because a giraffe had to reach its tongue just a little bit farther to get that green leaf up there, and then its giraffe child, calf, had a slightly longer tongue and longer neck too. So because these xenobots have the possibility to reproduce, they're doing kind of the same thing that Lamarck thought in terms of passing down their traits, and they're literally molded. I want to point you to the etymology of xeno, which means alien in ancient Greece. And I'm just fascinated by this because alien is related to the word stranger. And you might know that in ancient Greek culture, messengers and visitors, guests, were considered sacred by the gods, and they would rain down terror and punishment if you broke this moral code. So xenobots as an alien or as a stranger is actually someone who can be made, an entity that can be made known, welcomed into the realm of the known entities of the world. And I think that xenobots pose fundamental questions about futures of life, and also the possibility to really collaborate with machines to create new forms of life that are themselves between the biological and the mechanical. So one of the inventors, Michael Levin, along with the philosopher you might know, Daniel Dennett, describes this in relation to xenobots. Tissues, organs, brains, animals, and swarms like anthills, and I will submit to you also swarms like xenobots, form various kinds of minds that can represent, remember, and reach for bigger goals. I think memory and remembering is a really key word here. Memory is not just something that can be stored in the cloud server, which is, actually, physical servers, but is also embodied. So when you play and learn cello or piano, or you smell your dog, or you know what your house smells like, you hear the exact sound of your child, these are all embedded memories. And so thinking about embodied intelligence I think can only be done through embodied memory. And that's something that I think that we need to try to extend to machine others who we're more and more collaborating with. Okay, so in addition to the scientists that I work with, the Future Humans program also supports art and design projects, and I'm so thrilled to share with you 3 pieces of art that I commissioned a year ago today, April 22nd. So it's just kismet that I happen to be here. So behind this AR sculpture is the Bradbury building, which is where the Berggruen headquarters are. And it's just a beautiful place to work, but it also is the embodiment, if you will, of a socialist vision of a science fiction novel in which all of the light streaming down represents communal access and equitable access to light. The fabulous artist and my friend Nancy Baker Cahill created Corpus, which she describes as a blended embodied entanglement between human, machine, and microbiome. So you see different aspects of this at scale, and I think about making kin with Corpus every time I go to work, so it's really special. And every time I think about Corpus, I'm prompted to ask, how will future humans interact with artificial others? Oh, and I just want to mention the heartbeat that you hear. Nancy created a layered audio of a fetal heartbeat, an adult human heartbeat, a narwhal heartbeat, and what I like to call the heartbeat of the universe, which is gravitational waves being produced by black holes colliding. And then she ran it all through an AI machine. Here you see Reeps 100, aka Harry Yeff, the visualization of voices that materialize sound. So these are voice sculptures. They're each voice prints of individual voices. The first one is of Mr. Berggruen. The second one is of Corpus's heartbeat. And the third one is Voices of LA, which include the river and the freeway. And so it's a way to think about material objects and their influence on human experiences and how the built environment can speak just as well as what we call the natural world, indeed kind of troubling why we make a distinction between nature and culture. Finally, this is Sugwen Chung. She is performing Ecologies of Becoming With. So she started with this meditative performance that heightened her alpha waves. This is on the floor of the Bradbury building. So she's interacting with this dyadic robotic system that's linked to her brainwave that was captured by an EEG set that then we sonified throughout the building. And if you watch for a bit, what I find so fascinating about Sugwen's performance is the intimacy and the familiarity in which she's interacting with these robots. At certain points, she kind of strokes them or she nurtures them along. At other points, she kind of seems like annoyed and she kind of pushes them away. But it's this recursive process of collaboration in which this biofeedback loop, this entanglement with machines is creating this novel third space of collaboration. There's this concept that I'm sure many of you know called anthropomorphing, in which we project human qualities onto non-human entities. But I want to suggest here that Sugwen is performing technomorphing, in which she is kind of flipping the script and reaching towards machines. The philosopher Donna Haraway said that becoming is always becoming with, and she's pointing out these relational ways of being with rhizomes, with companion species, and indeed with the whole planet, as we've heard about today. Through the Future Humans program, I want to also just say to you and to kind of seed further exploration that humans can also become with machines to design the future. Thank you.